Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to video number 103 in our TillesTells stories for Saturday night group. I'm posting this now instead of Saturday night because Saturday night is Tisha B'Av. I adapted and annotated this story from the book Torah Tavlin on Tisha B'Av by Rabbi David Hoffman. And I retitled it, When Smart Jews Are Not Smart. Rabbi Moshe Green, who at the time of the story was a teacher in a yeshiva in Queens, New York, and at the time of this writing is the rabbi of Bachurei Chemed Synagogue and community in Long Beach, Long Island, New York, reported the following startling encounter. I was driving in New York City, and everyone knows New York City is no easy place to drive in. One day the inevitable happened. While I was driving from my home in Queens, I hit something hard and my tire went flat. I pulled over and called AAA and sat back to wait for help to come. About a half an hour later, a Latino man in his 60s pulled up. He introduced himself as Donnie, and to my shock, started speaking in Yiddish. Are you Jewish? I asked him, completely caught off guard. He shook his head with a smile and said no. I laughed and then asked him the obvious question. Well, if you're not Jewish, where'd you learn to speak Yiddish? While crouching down to examine the damaged tire, he said, I picked it up many years ago when I was hanging out with one of your buddies. Ever hear of Rabbi Yoel Teitlebaum? I was shocked yet again. You mean the great leader of Satmar in Williamsburg? I asked in disbelief. The one and only, he chuckled. Rabbi Yoel Teitlebaum miraculously escapes from Bergen-Belsen in 1944. In 1947, he moved to the USA where he established himself as the Satmar Rebbe in the Williamsburg section of Brooklyn. Famed as the leader of remnants of all Hungarian Jewry and as the spiritual leader of the opposition to a secular-based Jewish government in Israel until his passing in 1979, he was also one of the greatest Torah scholars of his generation. Donnie then went on to explain that he was a retired New York City policeman who on numerous occasions in the 1960s and 70s was assigned to protect the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoel Teitlebaum. Not only would he defend him from outsiders, but also from the throngs of Hasidim who wanted to get near him. Donnie was assigned to be his bodyguard at home, in shul, and public gatherings. Listen to this. He would dress up as a Satmar Chassid with a beard, payas, and a bekasher, a long Hasidic robe, and scan the crowds while trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. I just had to ask, how were you able to tell a Satmar Chassid from an impersonator? Oh, it was easy, he joked. You guys are always hunched over your books. If I saw a man standing a little too straight, I kept my eye on him. He was either an impersonator or somebody wasn't taking his studies seriously. He then asked me if I knew the term Yiddish cup. Now, honestly, when I first read Yiddish cup, K-O-P, I thought he was playfully referring to himself as a Yiddish-speaking cop, C-O-P. Then I got it. Yiddish cup, K-U-P. Cup is the Yiddish word for head. So he's asking, have you ever heard of a Yiddish cup, a Jewish head? Back to Rabbi Green. Of course, I replied, wondering where this was heading. Yiddish cup refers to Jews being smart and clever people. Suddenly Donnie turned serious and said, I heard you Jews used to live in Israel, where you had a special temple in Jerusalem, a glorious place where you all got together for your holidays, right? I nodded, right. I also heard that 2,000 years ago, after the temple was destroyed, you were exiled because you couldn't get along with each other, correct? I nodded again, correct. But he continued, I also heard that if you guys could just get along, God would move you back to Israel and he'll rebuild your temple. I nodded again, exactly. Donnie then leaned towards me and looked me straight in the eye. So if you guys are so smart with your Yiddish cups, how come in 2,000 years you haven't figured out how to get along? I just looked at him, said Rabbi Green. I had no answer. By the way, Rabbi Green, in addition to correcting a few details in personal correspondence with me for this revised version, confided that Donnie's language had to be considerably cleaned up in his original report of the study, and especially this final message. Sometimes it takes a Latino to prove a simple point. But Donnie's message still rings true, adds Rabbi Green. If we could just stop being so judgmental and critical with each other, at least once in a day greet someone with a smile. We would then be able to sit on the ground on Tisha B'Av with justified hope, having proven Donnie wrong. Well, I have nothing to add to Donnie's words. Nobody could say it better than he did, but I want to bless everybody with a successful Tisha B'Av. If we haven't learned to get along before then and Mashiach comes and then we don't have to fast. Good luck to everyone and be well.